Hi quilters! I recently took a trip to Winterset, Iowa to visit the Iowa Quilt Museum. The museum is located across from the historic Madison County Courthouse. The courthouse is surrounded by shops and businesses, one of them being the Iowa Quilt Museum. You know you're in the right place when you see the quilt displays in the front window. The quilt gallery is open Monday through Sunday with winter and summer hours. It's located in the former JCPenney building at 68 East Court Avenue in Winterset. The 2025 Iowa Quilt Festival will be held June 4th through the 7th. You can check their website for more information at iowaquiltmuseum.org. We'll leave a link in the description below. When you first enter the building, there's a small gift shop with some Iowa Quilt Museum merchandise and some finished items. They also had some feed sacks and some squares of fabric cut from feed sacks available for purchase. To get into the current exhibit, you can either pay for a membership to the museum or a daily admission fee to support their mission. The exhibit I went to see was Iowa Quilts, which included quilts from Iowa Quilt Shops, owners, employees, and friends. The exhibit was sponsored in loving memory of Velma Vanskoy, a prolific quilter from Winterset. Some of her quilts are included in the exhibit. The Iowa Quilt Museum features 4 unique exhibits each year of historic and contemporary quilts. Each visit is a brand new experience, and it can look different each time because the inner walls are movable to allow for different arrangements. Beside each quilt was a small plaque containing information about the quilt and its designer and maker. Reading the stories of each of the quilts was interesting and thought-provoking. Quilts are such an art form and a creative expression for so many. I always enjoy learning the background stories of special quilts. I especially enjoyed the story of this quilt. It was made from old shirts. It's a Bonnie Hunter design, and I thought the backing was extremely clever how she incorporated old shirts into the construction of it. I'm glad it was hung in the middle so that you could see both sides of this quilt. I especially wanted to see this particular exhibit because I had 2 quilts that were hanging on the walls. This is the first time any of my quilts have ever hung in a museum or been included in a special exhibit. I was very excited when my quilts were chosen to be part of the exhibit. This exhibit ends on April 20th, 2025, and a new one will take its place. The setting for the Quilt Museum is also beautiful. I loved all the woodwork. I hadn't realized before I attended this exhibit that the Iowa Quilt Museum is also the home of the Quilts of Valor Foundation. We spent some time talking with Melody Reels, the museum director, about all the happenings that take place at the Iowa Quilt Museum and the special exhibits that they have throughout the year. We also toured the upstairs space where they had some displays on the process of quilt making and the history of it. They had a few activities set up for some kids, and they had some old machines and an old thread cabinet to look at. They had a quilting frame for hand quilting set up, and some antique sewing machines were nearby. They were absolutely beautiful. I loved the foot pedal on the treadle machine. I thought it was beautiful, but I wouldn't want to have to use it. The quilts from the family who sponsored the exhibit were up in this balcony area. The quilts were laid out on some gorgeous antique wooden bed frames. The hand quilting on this whole cloth quilt was exquisite. This was an excellent way to honor her quilts. Also located in the upstairs area was this adorable dollhouse from the 1950s. I can't even imagine how much time he spent putting this dollhouse together. It was perfect. All the little details inside were fun to discover. Some of my favorite things about the dollhouse was that the bathtub had a baby in it and that the living room had its own dollhouse within the dollhouse. The director of the museum even let us have a little look at the 3rd floor of the building. It's currently used for special events and as a yoga studio. And there was this space where you could see down into the quilt museum itself. The 3rd floor windows also provided a great view out to the business district and the courthouse. I finished my tour with a quick purchase at the gift shop. I couldn't leave these feed sacks there. I had to bring some home with me. Located just a few doors down from the Quilt Museum is a quilt shop called Piece Works. It is owned by Joyce Franklin, and I got to spend a little time talking to her. She was impressed that I actually got away from my quilt shop for a day, and I had a great time visiting her quilt shop. It was beautiful, lots of wonderful fabrics and products available for everybody. So don't forget to give this shop a visit when you're in Winterset. After I made my purchases at the quilt shop, then it was time to see some of the bridges of Madison County. We made the time to visit 3 of the bridges this time for this particular trip, and we had never seen these before, so it was kind of fun to tour them, go inside them, and look at the inside structures of the bridges. The sizes of the beams used and the wood in the floor was fascinating to me. I just love that kind of stuff. Each of the bridges has a historical marker near it that tells the story of the bridge. On our next visit to the Iowa Quilt Museum, we'll find the other 3 bridges that we didn't see this time. I think the best time to come down to see this would be during the Iowa Quilt Festival, June 4th through 7th. We didn't realize that only one of the bridges was a bridge that you could drive through. Most of them you had to get out and park and then walk through them. This was the one bridge that you got to drive through. It was a little bumpy when we hit some of the spots because, of course, it's very uneven, but it was kind of fun to drive through it. And I definitely recommend getting out and reading all of the placards that have the history of the bridge and history about how they're named and the makers of the bridges themselves. Other places that we want to see the next time we come down to Winterset is the Madison County Historical Complex, the Clark Tower, and the John Wayne Birthplace and Museum. On our way out of town, we noticed the Covered Bridges Winery, so we decided to have a quick little wine tasting, sit down and have some snacks before we set out on our trip home. They even had quilts hanging in their building. It was a beautiful setting, great wine, and the perfect way to end our day. We hope you will hit the like button, leave a comment for us, share with your quilting friends, and subscribe. And don't forget to visit the Iowa Quilt Museum. Thanks for watching, and happy quilting!